So thank you so much for having me, and thank you for coming to my lightning talk. My name is Daniel. I usually do some kind of speaking and blogging, but there's been less and less blogging, and I have hardly done any speaking at all ever since we were locked into our cages. I'm going to start off by apologizing. So I apologize if I draw over time. I apologize to your manager for what you may or may not do as a consequence of this presentation. And I apologize if you inhale your morning coffee or whatever time zone you're in because of what you're about to see. Please don't do what I'm about to show you. It comes with regrets. Privilege escalation. I Googled it actually, and sort of one definition stuck with me. Privilege escalation is getting within your own security context, getting another process to do something with a higher privilege than you have yourself, which is a typical attack vector for bad actors, hackers, if you will. So thus the 80s theme of this presentation. We have a demo setup with two machines. We have app03 and SQL 08. I have a very limited access to app03, which is my host, and SQL 08 I don't have access to at all, and I'm going to see if I can exploit this. So, who's ready? Praying to demo gods. We are in a session as a low-privileged user on app03. So, here's what we can do. These are our server level permissions. We can pretty much do nothing. We're a member of the public group and we have access to just a single database. So nothing there. Let's look around. Are there any linked servers? Because that's what I typically look for. And there are. We've found a linked server, and you know what? It even has RPC enabled, which is really, really sweet if you want to really mess up someone's day. Let's find out who we are. We are a user or a login called linked server login, and let's try to find out what kind of permissions we have. Okay, so no privileges. Looks like we're just general, lowly, untrusted users on SQL 08, but we're in. So let's see if we can exploit this stuff. Who thinks we have access to the jobs in SQL Server Agent? Oh, we do. Nice. So there's a restore job, nightly maintenance job. That looks interesting. I wonder what that does. Let's take a look at the job. It runs a procedure called sync comment count in a database called Stack Overflow. It's not the Stack Overflow, but it's the Stack Overflow. So there is a procedure that runs every night that synchronizes the comment count on every post. So I'm guessing you would just need execute permissions on that procedure, right? Oh, looks like we have plenty of permissions in that database. Note the part where it says control. That means we're in the DB owner group. So we have full access to the Stack Overflow database. We can do anything in the Stack Overflow database as this linked server user, including dropping it. We're not going to do that because that's no fun, right? Who wants to just drop databases? You do that at work. But here are the stored procedures and the code in the stored procedures that we can find using the system DMVs. Let's get the source code from the sync comment count procedure. It looks something like that. So we have a comment table expression. We compute all the comments for each post, and then we update this column called comment count for each post, so that we keep the sync numbers and the comment numbers in sync, because those are not always in sync. Let's just alter that procedures. We need it to do something else for us. Anyone see it? Yeah. Let's create this completely legitimate login called Shady, and let's add that login to the sysadmin group. Let's see if that works. Oh my, that's nice. So we've created a login on the remote machine. Oh no, we've updated the procedure. We're not privileged, remember, but we have full DBO permissions in the database. So we've altered the procedure, an innocuous procedure that runs every night. Next time it runs, it's going to create a login Now all we have to do is wait for night to pass for the job to run. I don't have the time for that, so I'm going to run it manually, but you can just imagine the rest. Let's see where this leads us, except from being fired whenever they read the audit logs. Oh, look, we're in. We have access to the SQL 08 machine. There's the Stack Overflow machine. If we look in security and logins, looks like we have plenty permissions. I'm so getting fired. You realize my clients are watching this, right? So, use MSDB. Let's check sys credentials. Credentials are stored credentials on the machine that can sort of be used for proxy accounts, stuff like that. And I didn't set up my credentials. Damn it! So I'm going to have to wing the rest of the presentation. Let's just... I think I have one prepared. And copy, and let's go into security credentials. Oh, there it is. So it is there. Let's just try this. I'm going to try to assign this credential as a proxy account for SQL Server Agent. And that doesn't work at all, does it? Because I'm on the wrong server.
Yes, exactly.
I'm on the wrong server. Thank you. So change connection. Here we are. Checking sys credentials. There is our proxy account. I'm going to add it as a proxy account for SQL Server Agent. I'm going to make sure that certain types of jobs, in this case, CMD-exec and SSIS steps, can use this credential, which means when you add a SQL Server Agent job step, you can say run this job as this credential. And as you understand, the SSIS proxy is probably used for stuff like running SSIS packages for ETL jobs that, let's just say, need more permissions than the developers have. And I'm going to create a completely legitimate, completely harmless SQL Server Agent job that uses this credential. I'm going to call it completely legit maintenance task with a step name called nothing to see here. The step runs osql.exe, which is going to run a really practical T-SQL maintenance job called alter server role sysadmin add app03 demo. So I'm going to create that job for me. And if we check here under, oh, there it is. SQL Server Agent. I'm going to check the job activity monitor. We have a completely legit maintenance task. I'm going to run that because I'm sysadmin. I don't have to bother with the command line stuff. It fails because the job disappears when it runs. That's the nice thing about delete level equals 3 here. So we removed the job just to sort of cover up our tracks. And this was part of the disclaimer. It's all going to be in the audit log. You're not getting away from this one. But if we step back to our original server where we started out, we now have control server, which is the same thing as sysadmin access. Now, hands up, who is a little bit scared of what they're going to find in their own environment when they go checking this stuff out? Right. So 2.5 minutes to go. So I'm going to quickly recap what we did here. We had an access to our local machine. We used a linked server with RPC that had DB ownership permissions on the target machine to modify procedure that runs in a nightly job, which we modified to use stored credentials to access the server we originated from and add us to sysadmin. I even prepared a soundbite. So in aviation, healthcare, and stuff like that, they use what's called Reason's Swiss cheese model. So you can mitigate risks through different layers of mitigations. Think of them as layers of slices of cheese, which really has nothing to do with Swiss cheese because Swiss people don't slice their cheese, but whatever. The more layers you add, the more things you mitigate, and the things that pass through all of these layers are the ones that result in loss. And that's the problem. So just adding enough layers will mitigate the risk. It won't completely remove all of the risk. And some of those risks are consciously there. There are things that you want consciously to take. But you can have this sort of mental image in your mind when you go through your setup. Stuff to look for linked servers with credentials. What kind of credentials are they? How many privileges do they carry? Can an ordinary plain user start a SQL Server agent job that doesn't belong to them? In that case, they can run the job as someone else. Does the agent job run on a privileged credential? That could allow someone to run something as something they're not. Stored credentials, stored proxy accounts. The SQL Server service account may have access to your network, may even have domain admin access. I've seen that happen. All of these I've seen happen. All of these are perfectly normal under some circumstances, but if you combine them, think Swiss cheese security thing, you may be in a world of hurt. So get into the hacker mentality. How would you go about sort of attacking your own environment? How would you sort of trick your security setup? Think you're in dev, it's 11 p.m., there's an outage in production and you need to fix it and no one can give you access to production, so you're going to have to help yourself. How would you do it? Thank you so much for coming to my lightning talk. That's 10 minutes, 12 seconds.